Sure was great to see Andre Johnson go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I loved his speech, the nod to his mom. You're a Hall of Famer today as well. It was fantastic. I can't think of a better person to be the first member of the Houston Texans to make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame than Andre Johnson. I wrote a little bit about it at Houston Football. Check that out in the description down below, as well as watch Andre Johnson's full Hall of Fame speech in that article as well. The whole organization, it felt like, was there to support Andre Johnson, and the team is hanging around in Ohio for a few more days. They're going to be in Cleveland practicing 3 times this week as they try to get ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers and their second preseason game. Couple of things could be headed in the absolute right direction for this Texans team when those practices get here on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Let's start with this first one. Is Joe Mixon going to practice? I feel like Joe Mixon's pretty close to getting back. It's been since the first few days of training camp when we've seen Joe Mixon last. And it seems like a lower body injury has kept him out. He's watched practice a handful of times. And this past week, he was working out on the side field, which means he's really close to getting back. And it'll be a few weeks since he's been on the field by the time practices start in Cleveland. It'd be nice to see exactly what the veteran running back has and can put together with this offense. And I know that there's still plenty of time in the preseason. And if CJ Stroud and the rest of the offense need to get on the same page with Mixon, there's going to be time even if he doesn't practice in Cleveland. But it feels like he's close. It'd be nice to see him. And the tweet from Joe Mixon the other day, it makes me feel like Joe Mixon is going to be back in Cleveland. It'd be nice to see what this offense can do with Mixon out there, and it would give Dameon Pierce and the other running backs some more reps against other guys in the defensive unit, because Pierce and the running backs have gotten next to nothing against the defense here, and I want to see what Joe Mixon can do with this offense, the whole first-team offense, and see if they can get some things going here on offense in practice, because that leads me into question number 2. Is the defense going to do what the defense has been doing in practice? It's been defensive dominant in Texans training camp up to this point, and I'm wondering if that's going to roll on in Cleveland. Now, look, the offense looked much better than the defense did in the Hall of Fame game, so maybe there's a little bit of a turning point in that portion of the team, in that, hey, the offense had a little success. I know it was Davis Mills and some of the guys you'd consider to be backups against Bears backups, but if you could put some of that juice into that first-team offense of C.J. Stroud and Stefon Diggs and Nico Collins and Tank Dell, and, hey, maybe a returned Joe Mixon and that offensive line kind of coming together, you start to see some offensive practices roll in the offense's direction. And look, it's practice. The offense doesn't game plan for the defense. But I'm sitting here watching some of these other training camp reports, and I'm seeing guys with 12 touchdowns in 2 days and things like that. And I'd love to have a couple of those days from C.J. Stroud and that first-team offense. Wouldn't you love to tune in here on YouTube, have me come on with a practice report from training camp from Cleveland and tell you, yeah, actually C.J. Stroud, he absolutely annihilated the defense today. He had 6 touchdowns in this practice. Just a handful of those. I'm not asking for C.J. Stroud to dissect the defense every single day, but a few practices in a row where the offense gets the best of the defense, and it's not, just a slight split decision on the judges' scorecard. It's an offense that's knocked out the defense today. I'd love a few of those, and maybe a couple of those will head our way in Cleveland. Again, be there live covering the practices in Cleveland, myself and Landry Locker from the locker room, so be tuned in to all of that as we bring you the action from Cleveland. Couple of seconds here for my friends at draftkits.co. This is the best way to take your fantasy draft to the next level when you and your friends get together in person. Custom fantasy draft boards with big, beautiful labels that you can stick right there. It is taking your draft to a whole nother level. Visit the description of this video to learn a little bit more about draftkits.co and use my code CODY24 for 10% off your entire order. You can get the beautiful custom boards. Maybe you want to put the loser from last year in an embarrassing picture as the background. You're the winner. You want to put yourself there looking like a king. You can do that. So many different options. It's super easy. I'll show you at the back end of this video how easy it is to customize, but they have just your basic draft boards, your one-off draft boards for 1 year, or you want to get the fantastic reusable ones, you can get those as well. And you're getting 10% off with my code CODY24, draftkits.co, draftkits.co. The next question I have is this wide receiver battle, is the gap going to widen from the guys that are having success? Noah Brown didn't play in the Hall of Fame game. Robert Woods didn't play in the Hall of Fame game. John Mechie's performance left something to be desired. Xavier Hutchinson and Ben Skoranek had big thumbs up performances. Is the gap going to widen in any of these spots here in the wide receiver battle? Will Cleveland present some of that opportunity? I mean, look, you had the game on Thursday, a few days off to kind of reset, a little bit of a light practice in the meantime, but the real practices get back to action, and then you got another preseason game on the horizon, a chance for some of those wide receivers to kind of reset the deck and really attack practice and put some things together. Or if guys who have been struggling, like maybe a John Mechie, if they can't get things going and Xavier Hutchinson builds on that Hall of Fame game performance, if Ben Skoranek builds on that Hall of Fame game performance, could they start to widen the gap here? It's plenty of time. If John Mechie or Steven Sims or any of these other wide receivers want to make the case for the roster. But at some point, they're going to have to catch guys that maybe are perceived to be ahead of them, like Xavier Hutchinson and Ben Skoranek. So you don't want them to widen the gap if you're trying to catch them. You'd love to start nipping at their heels, and maybe by the time preseason game 2 rolls around, you're putting some success on the table like they did in preseason game number 1. And my last question here, coming off of the success of 3 starters on the offensive line playing in the Hall of Fame game, is that offensive line going to start to gel? It's had some tough sledding in practice, and that defensive line for the Texans has been ferocious. Foley Fatukasi and Mario Edwards in the middle have set the tone when it's come to rushing the ball, when it's come to even rushing the passer from the interior. And obviously, we know what Danielle Hunter and we know what Willie Anderson bring to the table. They are just monsters on the edge, and they go out there and get after C.J. Stroud and whoever else is back there in the backfield. So could that offensive line start to gel, and maybe, just maybe, Laremy Tunsil is close to being back? And that'd go a long way into making sure the gelling of the offensive line, the cohesion starts to build. Look, this offensive line needs to play together in the preseason. They need to play with each other in the preseason. Laremy Tunsil obviously played a ton of left tackle last year, but Kenyon Green didn't play left guard last year. Juice Scruggs didn't play center last year. Shaq Mason did not play right guard with Juice Scruggs and Titus Howard next to him, and Titus Howard didn't play right tackle last year. They need to play snaps together. They need to practice snaps together. And even if Tunsil isn't back just yet, Blake Fisher has done an admirable job with what he's been tasked in filling in for Laremy Tunsil. He's not Laremy Tunsil, but he's much better than I anticipated him being this far into practice. And look, Willie Anderson and Danielle Hunter, they have plenty of wins for against Blake Fisher. It's trial by fire for Blake Fisher, but he held his own in the Hall of Fame game. He was excellent, actually, in the Hall of Fame game. As far as I'm concerned, he's had success against guys like Jerry Hughes and Derek Barnett, and he's not losing every time to Hunter and Anderson. So Fisher and Green and Scruggs, they carry over some of that momentum from the Hall of Fame game. You get Shaq Mason and Titus Howard in there with them, and that offensive line starts to come together a little bit more than it has been. D'Amico Ryan said they were going to look better in game scenarios than they had looked in practice. He was right with those 3 guys, and if that carries over into practice, go back to kind of question 2, maybe the offense gets rolling a little bit better than they have been. So those are my questions that I have for the Cleveland practices, and they'll get answered. And they'll get answered right here on the YouTube channel. We'll talk about it live from Cleveland. We'll talk about it from Cleveland with Landry Locker of the Locker Room. There's going to be plenty of coverage right here on the YouTube channel. I do want to say your support, your thumbs ups, your super chats, your thank yous, your subscriptions, your sharing of the video. It makes it possible for me to go and cover the team in Cleveland. So I greatly appreciate that. I also greatly appreciate when you visit with our friends at draftkits.co. DraftKits.co, DraftKits.co, CODY24 is the promo code for 10% off. Look at these gorgeous custom draft boards. You can get them right here at DraftKits.co. You're going to get 10% off your whole order with my code CODY24, CODY24. They are huge. They're easy to put up because they come with the grommets at the top, the opening. You're going to have your league name across the top. It's not going to be a Broncos quarterback. It's going to be maybe your league champion or maybe an embarrassing picture of the league loser. It's so easy to customize. After you check out, they reach out to you after you've selected my image on the draft board. They tell you how to upload your pictures. Then they send you a proof, and then bing, bang, boom, it gets printed, and you have a beautiful, customizable, reusable, heavyweight draft board for years to come. You got the removable labels as well, so when the drunk friend puts it in the wrong spot, you can fix it really quick. It is so easy to go through the process. My league's got 12 teams. We go 16 rounds. It's all super easy, and then you enter the promo code CODY24 for your 10% off. You even have a spot where you can tell them on the draft board you want champion spots. My draft board from DraftKits.co has 20 spots for past champions and future champions. DraftKits.co, take your draft to the next level with my friends at DraftKits.co. I'm telling you, best in the business. Custom draft boards take your fantasy draft to a whole nother level with DraftKits.co. Use that code CODY24 for 10% off. I appreciate you watching the video. I appreciate your support that allows me to go to Cleveland and cover the Texans for you. I appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed the video. Can't wait until we talk Texans. Probably next time from Cleveland or the airport on the way to Cleveland again soon.